the reason he was tugging those players along, Greeny, the reason he was being so tough on them was because he believed it was best, not just for him, but for all of them. And that he was trying to get them somewhere that they couldn't get on their own. And I think the frustration and the emotion was, don't they get that? Don't they understand? I'm doing this for them. I'm not doing this to antagonize them. I'm doing that to get us all across the finish line. So very poignant moment for me. I've seen some slithers of that of Michael Jordan off the court in private conversations, but I'm glad that the rest of the world gets to see it.
Yeah, Zach, I agree. And as one, I was privileged enough to be around him a little bit in my life. Another thing that it made me feel was that was just him demonstrating, maybe involuntarily, just how much it all mattered to him. Like it just meant so much to him that at times it brought him to tears thinking about just how important to him it actually was.
Yeah, I think that was one of the great joys of this is, Michael is, as Jackie said, an icon. I mean, I was a teenager during most of Michael's prime. He was probably on my television screen more than anyone on earth. And yet I felt like in this documentary, this is going to sound silly, but I saw him make facial expressions and have a little bit of a mischievous personality that I don't think I had really ever seen before because I wasn't around him privately like you guys were back in the day. And that was a great joy for me. The other thing, the other part of his personality that I think really stood out was how he took care of the security guards and all the people that took care of him. And I think it's interesting. I think that and how hard it was. You heard Will Perdue talk about how hard it was to be Michael, to be isolated in your hotel room. And then you pair that with the taking care of the people around him. I wonder how much that kind of informed the way he runs the Hornets, right? He's taken a lot of criticism for hiring friends and, family members. But if you're Michael Jordan, I wonder if you live like that, I wonder if you just have such a hard time trusting anyone.
Jackie, one of the things that I thought was very interesting before the series debuted was Michael said he was concerned about how people might view him, how they might see him when so much of this was put out there in the public. How do you think people's opinions of Michael Jordan, one way or another, might be changed or shaped by watching this? And how was yours?
Well, my opinion wasn't changed at all because, again, when you go through it and you live it, and again, have the context where you have a conversation with someone like Michael and you know what kind of person he is, and you knew how much Gus Lett, the security guard, meant to him. But it's funny, I have a lot of friends who are not sports fans, as I'm sure you guys do, and many of them have said to me, wow, I thought Michael Jordan was nicer than that. And those people, frankly, are missing the point. It's very lonely at the top. And by the way, Michael Jordan is not unique in the way that he tried to pull his teammates along. Magic Johnson did it. Larry Bird called his teammates sissies. Kobe Bryant was absolutely ruthless. And who did he learn that from, by the way? Michael Jordan. So I just think you can't take little snippets of this. You have to look at it in its totality and appreciate what this meant. This is what people should remember. How hard it was to keep this group together through 2 dynasties. There was so much drama, so many distractions. All it does is make me admire him more, frankly.
And Zach, again, maybe you're the better person to answer that question because, as you say, you weren't around all of that when it was actually happening. How did watching these 10 hours influence the way you view Michael Jordan?
It didn't at all. I mean, this is exactly the Michael that, I think anyone who is in basketball knew already existed. If anything, it was the sort of glimpses of his private personality off the floor, his trash talking, in the locker room with Scott Burrell. All that stuff was delightful for me. But in terms of what Michael was as a player and a person, I think it matched the image that we all had of him. Ultra competitive, ruthless, would do anything to win. In fact, I think it amped that up even more.
All right, Jackie. So he said at the very end last night, he said that he still can't accept the fact that they didn't get a chance to go for number 7. In your mind, if they had done what he is suggesting he thinks they could have, which is bring everybody back on 1-year deals, do you think he would have won a 7th?
I do. Give me Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and anyone else, plus Phil Jackson. I'm never betting against that team, especially during the teams that you saw all around them. Now, the problem with that, Greeny, is this, that Phil Jackson and Jerry Krause at that point were untenable. Phil had to move on. So if Phil moves on, who's going to control Dennis Rodman? I mean, Phil was barely controlling him near the end. The dude went to Vegas in the middle of the NBA Finals. And Scottie Pippen, rightfully so, at some point, wanted to be compensated for being one of the top 5 players in the league at that time, and that wasn't going to happen in Chicago. So yes, if they were all stuck together, could they have won? Absolutely. But could they have stuck together? In my mind, that was going to be impossible.
Now, Zach, we all know that the team that wound up winning the Eastern Conference that following season in a 50-game season, the strike-shortened season, was an 8th-seeded New York Knicks team playing without Patrick Ewing by the time they got to the final. It certainly feels like if Michael had somehow held that group together, he might have certainly gotten back to the finals to begin with.
Well, but remember, Michael was hurt in that offseason. He hurt his finger in a cigar cutting incident. Now, it's unclear when that happened or if that happened after we all knew it was over, but he was going to miss considerable time if he had come back. The other thing, to Jackie's point, you know, the focus is on Jerry Krause the whole series from the first episode. But I wonder if Jerry Reinsdorf steps in and says, hey, look, Jerry Krause, you and Phil are untenable. Guess what? You lose. You get to keep your job, but I'm overruling you. Phil, here's a 1-year, $10 million check to come back as coach. Phil then wins the power struggle. I wonder if that, at least for Phil, makes the situation tenable to survive a year. And I agree with Jackie. You bring that team back, yeah, they're aging, they're tired, they're mentally exhausted. Who's beating them? Who's beating that team? I don't know if anyone's beating that team. And I would have liked to see it have another shot. And I think having Jerry Reinsdorf get the last word last night put a lot of the blame where it should have been and where it wasn't in the first 2 episodes. And that's on the guy that has the ultimate authority and responsibility for the team, and that's the owner.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.